Today, we're going to tackle a feeling that pretty much everyone knows all too well, that sense of being completely swamped, constantly busy, but never really making any progress. We're jumping into David Allen's classic book, Getting Things Done, which offers a pretty radical but totally practical way to get back in the driver's seat. You know that feeling, right? When your brain feels like a web browser with like 100 tabs open at once. Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. That constant mental noise, that feeling of being totally overwhelmed, that is the very thing David Allen's system is built to solve. So, why do we all feel this way? Well, Allen says it's not some personal failure. Nope, it's actually a problem with the system itself. He points out that the way we work today has fundamentally changed. And our brains, well, they just haven't caught up yet. Let's dig into that. I mean, think about it. Back in the day, work was, well, it was clear. You plowed a field, you assembled a widget. You knew exactly when the job was done. But for most of us now, our work is knowledge work. It's not so well defined, it's abstract, and honestly, it could go on forever. This feeling of being overwhelmed really comes down to three things. First, our projects are edgeless. A report can always be tweaked. A presentation can always be improved. Second, our jobs themselves are always in flux. We're hardly ever just doing one single thing anymore. And finally, we are just swimming in an ocean of infinite information, which creates this constant pressure to know more and do more. Allen has this brilliant term for all that mental clutter. He calls them open loops. An open loop is just anything you've committed to that's not done yet. It could be something tiny, like buy eggs, or huge, like plan the company retreat, or even vague, like get in shape. Each one of these is like a little post-it note stuck to the inside of your brain, just quietly draining your mental energy. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The stress we feel, it doesn't actually come from the work. It comes from all those broken promises we've made to ourselves, all those open loops that our brain just loves to remind us about at 3 in the morning, right when we can't do anything about them. Okay, so that's the problem. It's a big one. But what's the goal? What's the complete opposite of that cluttered, stressed out mind? Well, Allen proposes this really powerful idea. The goal is to have what martial artists call a mind like water. Just picture a perfectly still pond. If you toss a small pebble into it, the water ripples just enough for that pebble. Then it goes right back to being calm. It doesn't overreact, it doesn't underreact, it just responds perfectly. That's the state of relaxed, focused control we're shooting for. And this right here is one of the biggest takeaways from the entire book. Your head is a really, really bad office. It's amazing for having ideas, but it is terrible at holding them. When you try to use your brain as a reminder system, you totally hamstring its ability to do what it's best at. Being creative and actually solving problems. All right, so how do we get this mind like water? It's not just about trying harder or using more willpower. It's about a concrete 5-step method that gives you a way to handle every single thing that comes across your plate. And here they are, the 5 pillars of what's called the GTD system. It's a constant flow. First, you collect everything that has your attention. Then, you process what each thing is. After that, you organize it into a system you can trust. You have to review that system regularly to keep it fresh. And finally, you can do the work, knowing you're doing the right thing at the right time. Look, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. The entire method is about getting things out of your head. It's all built on creating a trusted system somewhere else. It doesn't matter if it's a fancy app or a simple notebook. It just has to be a place you know without a doubt that you will check regularly. That's the only way your brain will finally get the message that it can relax and let go. Now for one of the most famous and most powerful little hacks from the book. As you're going through your stuff, if you see a task that will take less than 2 minutes to finish, just do it. Do it right then and there. It's almost always faster than filing it away for later, and it builds this incredible sense of momentum. This slide shows exactly why most to-do lists just don't work. An item like tires isn't an action. It's a project. It's vague. Your brain looks at it, gets a little confused, and just skips to the next thing. The GTD way is to define the very next physical thing you need to do. Call Tire Store for prices. Now that's something you can actually do. This little change is an absolute game changer for beating procrastination. So you've built this awesome system, but how do you keep it from turning into a mess? What's the one habit that keeps the whole engine running smoothly week after week? This is such a brilliant way to put it. Think about how on top of things you feel right before a big vacation. Why is that? Because you're forced to clear everything up, tie up all the loose ends, and get totally current. Well, the weekly review is simply the habit of doing that every single week, so you can have that feeling of clarity and control all the time, not just once a year. The review is pretty simple. It has 3 parts. First, you get clear by emptying out all your inboxes. Second, you get current by looking over all your lists and projects. And third, once your mind is clear and your system is up to date, you can get creative. You finally have the mental space for your best, highest level thinking to show up.
So, you've done it. You've captured everything, you've processed it, it's all organized, your mind feels clear. But now it's, say, 10:22 on a Tuesday, and you've got a list of 50 things you could be doing. How in the world do you choose what you should be doing?
GTD offers this beautifully simple model for making that choice. You just run your options through 4 filters, in this order. First, context. Where are you? What tools do you have on hand? Second, time. Do you have 5 minutes or 5 hours? Third, energy. Are you feeling sharp and focused or totally drained? And only then, from the list of things that are still left, do you pick based on priority.
But priority, what does that even mean? It's not just about what's due next or who's shouting the loudest. Real priority comes from making sure that the thing you're doing right now actually lines up with your bigger goals and values. And that's where this horizons of focus model comes in. It's just a way of thinking about your work from different altitudes. It makes sure that the daily actions you're taking down on the runway are actually serving your projects, which support your areas of responsibility, all the way up to your life's purpose at 50,000 feet. It's how you connect sending one little email to your biggest dreams. And that really brings us full circle. The whole point of this system isn't to make you into some kind of productivity machine. It's the opposite. It's about clearing out all of the junk so you can be fully present, fully relaxed, and because of that, way more powerful. When you get control over all the little things, you free up your mind to focus on what actually matters. So, the question this whole system leaves us with isn't just how do I get more stuff done? It's much bigger than that. It's about what you could do if you weren't constantly distracted. When you get all that nagging, unfinished business out of your head and into a system you trust, you get your most precious resource back, your focused attention. So the real question is, with that, what could you truly accomplish?